Welcome back to the most unprofessional sports podcast in the world. This is Swivel Chair Sports. I am your host, Zach Circle Burke Burkle. Once again, joining me today are my co hosts, Siege and Aaron. Go ahead and say hi, guys.
What up?
How's
What
it
up?
going?
All right, so today we have a pretty stacked slate for you as far as things to talk about. Start off with some college football. Signing day had just happened. Move on to some NFL after that, NBA, MLB. Wrap up with some World Cup recap. But let's start with that college football signing day that just happened today. Kind of hand the wheel over to my co-host here, as they do know more about that arena than me. So go ahead, guys. What happened today in the college football world?
Well, today is early signing day. Not a whole lot of huge surprises. A couple flips that kind of shook some things up. At least for Oregon and OU, they had one flip from. OU went on an in-home visit. This kid, I forget his name, but he canceled his visit to Oregon for the in-home, and then he signs with Oregon today. He's 5-star. So that's a pretty big hit to OU's uh, recruiting year. And I mean, no surprises. We still have Alabama, Georgia, Texas, the big names, kind of standing at the top three recruiting classes so far for early signing day.
I mean, when I first saw the list, I was surprised that Texas was so high up, but I guess it makes sense since they are a big name school and they're joining the SEC. That they'd be getting a lot more like higher rated recruits. And then another team, Miami, like that to me kind of seems out of nowhere.
Yeah. So the biggest thing that I think about, like with that, is these schools always recruit well. Like Texas, um, I'm surprised to see OU down at number 8 right now, honestly, because they usually recruit very, very well. Uh, I think Texas and Miami, they always usually recruit very well, but Miami especially, they do not do a great job of developing those players past their star rating. Um, and so sometimes, as we see every year with Miami, they're always ranked really high and they always underperform. So I'm not super surprised to see their recruitment rating so high, but um, it's probably going to be another one of those situations where they start off the year overrated and kind of show their true colors once the season starts.
Yeah. I guess another team. I mean, it is kind of like middle of the pack, but South Carolina, especially being ranked like higher than Michigan, just by one spot. But I mean, they did all right this year, but nothing special.
Yeah, I think they showed that they could be special though, especially with those last two games that they played in the regular season against Tennessee and Clemson. I think they showed that they can be special if they get the right talent there, and so maybe kids see that and they're like, oh, well, my position there's not a whole lot of depth, and maybe I can start right away. So that could have something to do with their recruiting ranking being higher than say usual.
And is Rattler only going to be a junior next year?
I'm not 100% sure. I think
I
so.
think that's right. I think his year at OU was his redshirt freshman year, if I'm right. So this would have been his redshirt sophomore.
Okay.
I think that's right. So, but yeah, as a pro guy, I mean, obviously all I really knew about was Arch Manning going to Texas. Outside of that, I have no idea, and especially when it comes to recruiting, I barely know about the college realm. But when it comes to recruiting, I'm definitely clueless. So, appreciate you boys picking up the slack for me over there. Anything else that's kind of jumped out to you through the first day of signing? Obviously, there's probably more coming down the pipe, but a lot of the big name guys are already signed.
I think the biggest thing like the biggest story going on right now is kind of a mass exodus of players from Alabama. Uh, I know TCU has picked up two players from Alabama. They picked up an offensive tackle and a former 5-star wide receiver. And so there's a lot of people leaving Alabama, so that also allows for an opportunity for these new guys, these young guys, to potentially get a starting role, uh, possibly a little bit quicker than usual when you're talking about a school like Alabama. So these recruits are kind of getting set up for a better future, being able to play earlier than possibly normal. Um, but it's kind of weird to see these really, I mean, these starting players for Alabama trying to get out. I don't know what's going on there, but I guess we'll kind of see how that plays out in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw a stat that from like 2018 to 2021 that Alabama had like 104 plus star recruits and like 41 of them transferred or something like that.
Yeah,
So that's a lot of turnover.
yeah. I mean, it also, whenever you have that many guys trying to go to one school, I mean, it makes sense why people transfer out, but not these multiple year starters. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess unless you guys have anything else, we'll move kind of on from that signing day stuff. Not much more else to talk about. College football world. Still waiting on. I guess some bowl games have happened, but none of the big New Year's Six ones. Obviously, still waiting on the playoffs to start up. So we'll definitely talk more about the college football world whenever those bowl games take place and the playoffs kick off. But let's go ahead and move on to the NFL. Obviously, a lot of things happened week 15. Big playoff implications in a lot of those games. Start off with one that broke my heart before getting into the 2-minute warning. The reason I'm dressed like I'm at a funeral today.
Just like Ozzy Osbourne?
Like I'm at a funeral today. Anyways, unfortunately, Baker Mayfield and the Los Angeles Rams did fall short to Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers on Monday Night Football, resulting in the Los Angeles Rams being officially eliminated from playoff contention. If you've been following the Swivel Chair Sports podcast since episode 1, or at least episode 2, I can't remember when I made the prediction that Baker Mayfield was going to lead the Rams to the playoffs. But anyways, at one point I did believe in Baker Mayfield to lead a miraculous comeback this season for the Los Angeles Rams, and unfortunately, his any chance of him contending this year has come to an end. So I would just like to shout out Baker Mayfield for a great first game with the Rams. Struggled a little bit in his second one, but here's hoping to a better season next year, Bake. It's a shame what happened. I had your back. A lot of us did, but. We're not giving up on you yet, buddy. We're not giving up on you yet. We think you have what it takes.
No.
So, anyways, bounce off that. Let's get into our 2-minute warning. Think we debuted at episode 2, but that was a disaster. Last week was much better. So let's hope we can repeat last week and have a decent little go at it. Being disconnected for some reason. What the heck is going on? There we go. All right. So we got the 2 minutes up on the board. Just go shortly through the scores of the NFL week 15. Short little summary of what happened each game, and then afterwards we'll break down some of them in a little bit more depth. So 2 minutes counting and go. Let's start with the 49ers beating the Seattle Seahawks 21-13. Brock Purdy making that system look pretty good over there in San Francisco. Led that Niners team to a division title this year. Vikings miraculous comeback against the Colts, down 33-0 at one point. Ended up making a miraculous comeback, backed mainly on the arm strength of Kirk Cousins. Browns end up beating the Rams without Lamar Jackson. That offense looks rough up there in Baltimore right now with no Lamar. Bills stunned the Dolphins in a close one down the stretch, 32-29. Eagles barely pulled out against the Bears. Jalen Hurts gets hurt during the contest. We'll see what happens with that going forward. That could affect their season. We got the Lions beating the Jets 20-17. Huge game for Detroit, keeps them in the playoff picture. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Steelers beating the Panthers 24-16. That was a basically nothing burger of a game. Neither team really being in much playoff contention other than the Panthers with the division. But the Steelers do stay alive. Chiefs barely beating the Texans in overtime. What a pitiful game. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Saints beat the Falcons to take the tiebreaker over them in the division race. Jaguars stunned the Cowboys in overtime 40-34. The Broncos beat the Cardinals with no Russell Wilson. Maybe Russell Wilson was the problem. That's hilarious if so. The Raiders beat the Patriots 30-24, keeping their playoff hopes alive and knocking the Patriots out of that 6th or 7th wild card. We'll see what happens with those two teams going down the stretch. Chargers beat the Titans 17-14 to further their playoff hopes in the wild card race. The Bengals beating the Bucks after just being stifled in the first half, come back in the second half and destroy the Bucks. You got the Giants beating the Commanders on Sunday Night Football. That was a heck of a game. Ended up having huge playoff implications. Obviously, a lot of controversy with that no call at the end. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And to wrap it up, I did go a little over. I apologize. But you may be wondering, what the heck was I doing? Well, as some may say, when one door closes, another door opens. And with the end of Baker's season coming to fruition this past week, it has come to my attention that I must pick a new team to root for going forward.
You need a new team to have an outlandish take on?
I have all the faith in the world in this team going forward. They were one of my favorite teams coming into the season, mainly for their head coaching personality over there. Just a real heck of a story. Starting off 1-6, winning their last 6 out of their last 7 games, to become even at 7-7, 500 record, and just outside of the wild card picture right now. Let's go Lions, baby. MCDC, Motor City, Dan Campbell, whipping those boys into shape up there in Detroit. They got the grit. They got the fight. I think they are going to make a huge run down the stretch here in the regular season to make the playoffs for the first time since Calvin Johnson was playing for them. Oh my goodness, could we see a story up there in Detroit this year, ladies and gentlemen? MCDC, Motor City, Dan Campbell has been everything that team has needed to whip them into shape and make them a real football team going down the stretch here this season. I am going to be rooting for the Lions every game the rest of this season. Really hoping they sneak into the playoffs here and make some noise. What do you think, Aaron? What are your opinions here on my Detroit Lions take?
First of all, are you wearing gloves?
I am wearing gloves. We're in Detroit, baby. Come on.
You got a Subaru too? I mean, Jesus. Talk about a little over the top. Yeah, I mean they have kind of shown that they're a team that just kind of finds ways to win. And against a good Jets team, of course they did have Zach Wilson starting, which was kind of interesting to see, but yeah, they just they pulled it out against a good Jets defense. What's the rest of their season look like?
I believe they're all winnable games.
Panthers, Bears, Packers. Yeah, I mean they could definitely sneak in there. Who knows? MCDC's could be turning that culture around over there.
Yeah, and not to spoil our playoff picture segment here a little bit later. Let me refocus that camera real quick. But the Lions are right behind the Seahawks in the hunt for the wild card. They're actually tied record-wise at 7-7, both of them. Seahawks just had that tiebreaker because they beat the Lions earlier this year by 3 points. So both teams are like right there with each other. And then obviously with the Commanders losing to the Giants this past Sunday night, one of those teams is even more likely to make it to the playoffs going forward unless the Commanders and the Giants both win out It'll be interesting to see what happens with that last playoff spot over there in the NFC. But let's go ahead and move on to some other stuff that happened this week. I guess we can talk about the Ravens without Lamar again, looking terrible for the second straight week. Last week they got away with it. We're able to get out a win, but this week obviously playing a pretty bad Cleveland team up there. If I'm being honest, their offense just couldn't even get going. Only scored 3 points all game. And now the Bengals have overtaken them for the division lead. What do you think, Aaron? Is trouble brewing up there in Baltimore right now?
Yeah, kinda. They just had some things not go their way. I think they had some red zone turnovers and going for it on fourth down on like kind of down by like the 30 and not converting. So they just had a couple tough breaks. But yeah, they definitely need Lamar back. They did decent running the ball. Both teams did. So that's not really the problem. It's the pass game that's not really quite clicking for them, obviously. So yeah, they do definitely need Lamar back to finish that push for the playoffs.
Yeah. No, it's going to be they need him in a bad way right now. That offense is nothing without him. That whole offense runs through him. So without him, it's looking bad up there. So hopefully he can get back and help that team out here real soon. All well wishes up to him up there in Baltimore. But let's move on to the Bills and the Dolphins game. Real nail biter came down to the wire there. I believe the Bills only won by 3 points, if I'm right. However, beating the Dolphins did essentially clinch them the division, as they do have the tie. Or do they have? I think they have the tiebreaker. Now they just got to win one more game or something like that. But yeah, I mean the Bills, obviously one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the AFC. The Dolphins, though, looking a lot scarier than maybe we thought coming into the year. Obviously, they've been rolling all season, but they've definitely been a surprise considering what we probably most of us thought before the season started. What do you think? Who do you think's the scarier? That's a good question. Who do you think's going to be the scarier team come playoff time? The Dolphins or the Bills?
Definitely the Bills.
Okay. Sorry.
Josh Allen's a much more proven quarterback. They're a much more proven team. They're a lot more tough on defense. Tua, yeah, he's had a good season, but he hasn't really impressed me.
Yeah.
He does have 2 really good receivers, but his decision makings at times is very questionable. Just it seems almost like predetermined where he's going to throw. Granted, he is a young quarterback, but he does have a good arm, great accuracy for the most part. But yeah, I definitely think it's going to be the Bills that are the scarier team come playoffs.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, obviously the Dolphins are a fun story and all that, but if they run into either the Chiefs or the Bengals in the first round, that could cause some major problems for them, obviously. Yeah, I mean, the Bills obviously the more proven team. Josh Allen, the more proven quarterback. Everyone seems like, just like last year, everyone seems like they're saying this is Josh Allen's year, but we'll see. Obviously, a lot of good teams over there in the AFC. I could see 3 or 4 different teams coming out and making the Super Bowl. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Let's move on to the Eagles, barely beating the Bears. Obviously, Jalen Hurts got injured during this game. They're saying he is questionable for this week, so he may be coming back. But how do you think this affects the MVP race going forward, Aaron? With if Jalen Hurts does miss any time, I should say, because obviously, going into this past week, he was the front runner. If he ends up missing a game or 2, that could end up costing him that trophy, though. And Mahomes may end up winning it by default in that case. Do you think if Jalen Hurts misses games, do you think that should result in that should result in Patrick Mahomes regaining that front running spot, or do you think that's a little unfair to Jalen Hurts?
I think if he misses 1 game, it shouldn't. But I think if he misses more, then it will. I mean, they both have pretty much laid their case out at this point. we know who they are and what they mean to their teams. I personally kind of think that, I mean, we can touch on this a little bit later, but I personally think Mahomes kind of flipped it again. I mean, Hurts did have a good week, but he did have 2 picks. He did get hurt, but he did finish. He played out the game, if I remember correctly.
Did he?
So I don't
yeah,
know.
I didn't know
I don't know. It was like a shoulder injury or something.
that.
So we'll see. Hopefully he's good and can play. But yeah, that was a heck of a duel between him and Justin Fields. That was a pretty exciting game to watch.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of us, Justin Fields has kind of had, I mean, not so much this year, but his rookie year was kind of disappointing. This year he's really stepped up and shown like he was worth that draft pick. He's having a great
Well,
year.
they're letting him like run the ball now, which
Yeah.
is part of what makes him so special. And I mean, you see, that's kind of what's catapulted Jalen Hurts this year is
Right,
they
right.
started utilizing the option and letting him just kind of like take QB draws. So that's really changed their offense.
Yeah, we saw.
And
Sorry.
I mean, the Bears, I mean, their best receivers, who, Byron Pringle? I mean, he doesn't really
Chase
have a lot
Claypool.
of.
They got Chase Claypool.
Yeah.
Better than Byron Pringle.
Hey, you ex-chief, you got to stand by our guy.
That's I guess, but Chase Claypool's better.
But I mean, you saw, I saw somebody say somewhere that Josh Allen made his big leap in his 3rd year
Yeah.
after they got Stephon Diggs, and Tua's made his
Daniel
big leap this
Jones?
year getting Tyreek.
Daniel Jones.
Stop it. So I think you just get him like a solid number 1 receiver,
Yeah.
and that offense looks completely different. It looks much better.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he needs more weapons around him. I don't think they have much of a running game either over there. So, it's going to take some time in Chicago, but once they build that team around Justin Fields, I have a lot of confidence that they'll be able to at least make the playoffs, if not contend for a Super Bowl down the line. Let's move on to the Chiefs scared me. Obviously, going into overtime with the Texans this past Sunday, a team they should not by any means. I don't care who's hurt. I don't care what head coach is not on. I don't care. I don't care. We can put a pee-wee football team out there. We should be able to beat the Texans in regulation. Going to overtime with a 1-12 team is not good. I'm concerned. I don't know what's going on. Can you talk me off this cliff, Aaron? Like, talk me off the ledge, something. I need some assurance that this is not going to translate into the playoffs and ruin another promising season.
I mean, I can't guarantee that it won't, because it's not necessarily the play that's bad. It's little mistakes here and there. I mean, we had, I'm pretty sure, like 2 fumbles that gave them short field position, which was like the key in their first half. So, yeah, I mean, the Chiefs love to shoot themselves in the foot. But, you know, as much as we hem and haw about the Chiefs being frustrating, we have won the division 7 straight years,
I know.
and we are going to the playoffs.
I know.
So that's what I'm excited for. You know, there are a lot worse teams to root for, so
Yeah.
that's
yeah.
why I have to look at it.
I know, and we finally got our Super Bowl, so I mean I should just be happy, but it feels like we're falling into old patterns again that we fell into back in the Alex Smith days, where we look not good against these not good teams, and we end up blowing a lead in the playoffs or something like that. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, you can't go as far back as Alex Smith. I mean, we did it last year against the Bengals. So it's not just Alex Smith days, it's Mahomes days too.
Yeah.
So
Andy Reid days, but
yeah,
I can't acting
that
like
is
Andy Reid.
Reid's
It is.
problem.
It's been his MO since he was in Philadelphia. But at the end of the day, he is one of the greatest coaches in NFL history. So what are you going to do? But let's stop raising my blood pressure with Chiefs talk. Move on to the Jaguars. How about the Jaguars down there? Beating Dallas in overtime. Cowboys look terrible for the second straight week, which just tickles my peach. Anyways, the Jaguars, though, kind of making a run for the playoffs, similar to what the Lions are doing over there in the NFC. I think they're only 2 games out of the wild card right now. What do you think about Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson and Sir Purr is Carolina, so not Sir Purr, the Jaguar guy. What do you think about them down there, Aaron? You think Jacksonville's got a chance?
I mean, yeah, probably. Trevor Lawrence is definitely showing why he was kind of like the number 1 pick, you know? He's
Took him long enough.
Showing promise this year.
Yeah.
It does help that he has, a few more weapons.
True.
But as I said last week, the Cowboys do Cowboys things. And they found a way to lose that game. Without a doubt.
Isn't that something? Oh my goodness. We'll talk a little bit later about another team that seemingly gave the game away. And I think most of you probably know who I'm talking about. But yeah, the Cowboys have just been like, it always happens down the stretch. They look great all year. They'll win 12 games. They'll win 13 games. But then they make it to the playoffs. They lose in the first round to the 6th seed or the 5th seed or whatever. After winning their division, obviously they're going to be the wild card this year because the Eagles are playing so well. But the point stands. They always find a way to screw up down the stretch, whether it be late in the regular season or early in the playoffs. So, but shout out to the Jaguars. Shout out to Doug Peterson doing another great job over there in Jacksonville after getting kicked out of Philadelphia. And was that just it? Did you just go there straight from Philadelphia, I think?
I believe so.
Yeah, so I obviously got a lot of love in my heart for Doug Peterson, him being a former Chiefs OC. So nice to see him having some success down there in Jacksonville.
He had to have taken a year off because Urban Meyer was there. Lawrence's first year, right?
I think he took a year off or something. I don't know. I can't remember exactly what happened. I almost said Colts, but then I remember that was Frank Reich, same coaching staff but different guy. But as mentioned, a little touched on earlier, the Patriots just deciding they didn't feel like winning this week. Jacoby Myers specifically felt like he didn't want to win this week. Literally threw the ball with no time left on the clock to an opposing player with nobody in front of him but Mac Jones. Ends up Chandler Jones, ironically to Jones, Chandler Jones ends up catching the ball that Jacoby Myers threw back to him. As soon as he catches it, makes a beeline for the end zone, of course. Poor Mac Jones, standing in his way, the only person between Chandler and the end zone, just gets demolished, stiff-armed right into the dirt. He's probably still feeling that today. But what the heck happened, Aaron? Oh my, I almost want to pull I don't care if it's copyright. I almost want to pull the clip up for anybody who didn't see it to watch. Because, that was the worst play I've ever seen outside of maybe that Colts play of 10 years ago where they literally lined just the center and the quarterback up and then they had everybody out by the sideline. This was just boneheaded. I have no other way to describe it. What the heck happened?
I don't know.
And for Bill Belichick, Belichick's team, it just baffles me.
You gotta assume that Belichick was on the sideline. All right, we're just gonna,
run it out,
run it up the gut, and see if we, get lucky and
break one,
get a breakaway touchdown. But then it turned into backyard football, 5th grade recess,
game,
and then
that was the weird thing. It was a tie game. You don't do that in a tie game.
Must have thought they were losing. I don't know what other thing was in his mind to think that was a good idea.
Yeah.
But it all starts with the running back. You can't. You just gotta know you go down.
Yeah.
You start that pitching game.
Ramondre Stevenson.
Like, oh, we gotta. Yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was honestly, before Jacoby Myers even threw the ball, I was like, what the hell's the running back doing pitching it back right now? They're tied.
I mean, Matt Patricia's their offensive coordinator, right?
Yeah. Whoever thought that was a good idea needs to get fired. Oh my gosh. A career-long defensive coordinator, you're going to like, oh, I think you can be an OC. Yeah, I think you can do it. Yeah. After you see the head coaching job he did in Detroit, obviously it wasn't a talent problem with what Dan Campbell's doing over there right now. But MCDC, let's go. Anyways, yeah, I'm baffled by what happened. Ramondre Stevenson shouldn't have pitched it to begin with. I did see an interview Jacoby Myers had after the game. His excuse was that he was just trying to make a play happen. And I say excuse, but his explanation, I guess, was he was just trying to make a play happen. But he didn't really. He sat there, took it like a man with the press, which is more than what you can say about most athletes. But shouldn't have gotten to that point to begin with.
I'm sorry. Good for him for taking his lumps.
I guess, yeah.
There's no need to throw it backwards 20 yards to the
quarterback. He was throwing to Mac Jones. That's the only person who was around. And he thought Mac Jones was going to out-jump Chandler? I don't know.
If it's Lamar Jackson, it's one thing. It's Mac Jones.
The most unathletic stuff.
He might be like the second slowest quarterback
behind Tom Brady. That's it. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't get it. Oh man, but yeah, I guess speaking of Tom Brady, we can go on to the Bengals game. That was a heck of a game, pretty entertaining. The Bucks looked like they had it all sewed up in the first half, up 17-3 going to halftime, and then Bengals come out, drop 21 straight on their heads, and end up freaking winning without allowing another score, I believe. But yeah, what the heck happened there? Like, I mean, I actually watched this game. I don't know if you did. The Bucks turned it over their first 4 drives in the second half. Like a Tom Brady-led offense turned it over 4 straight drives.
They just can't figure out who they want to be this year.
Right.
I mean, it's been this way all season. They look good one game, and then they look terrible the next. And it just transferred from half to half this game. I mean, you can't have 4 turnovers to start a half.
Yeah.
That's not a winning recipe.
I mean, every single time it happened, too, I was sitting there watching. I was like, there's no way that just happened. Like, Tom Brady fumbled, then Leonard Fournette fumbled, then some other dude, I don't know. People kept fumbling the freaking ball. That's my point. But yeah, I mean, if the Bucks don't figure this shit out soon, they're going to be in trouble come playoff time.
Brady had 4 turnovers.
Brady had 4
and 2 picks.
Wow, that's unlike him. That's very uncharacteristic of Brady.
Man, divorce hits hard.
Yeah. Shout out to flashback to episode 1. Callback. Divorce is hard. At least you can still kiss the son on the lips, though. But anyways, yeah, that was crazy. Bengals obviously taking their division lead now after that win, and the Ravens lost. So they look as good as ever right now. It really looks like there's 3 teams in the AFC a cut above the rest, and then everyone else just follows the Chiefs, Bills, and Bengals right now. I don't see a team other than those 3, maybe the Ravens if Lamar's healthy, making it out of the AFC. It really seems like it's down to those 3 right now, and everyone else is just kind of falling by the wayside. But I guess we can talk about... This one stung because I was conflicted in this game at the time watching it. Giants Commanders, Sunday Night Football. The Baker fan in me at the time, obviously him losing now, so it doesn't matter now, but at the time, if a tie would have happened, Baker would have been eliminated from playoff contention. So part of me was obviously most of me was rooting for some team to win, but that little part of me that likes seeing weird shit happen in sports and especially the NFL, I really wanted to see a tie because they tied their first matchup and they
Second tie.
had the same exact record. I wanted them to just like be in a stalemate going into the playoffs. I thought it would have been hilarious. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. Whether it should have happened or not is another discussion. But the Giants did end up beating the Commanders. Came down to the last play of the game. Taylor Heineke threw it up to. Was it Curtis Samuel? I think he threw it up to Curtis Samuel. Who, in my opinion, definitely pass interference on that play. I mean, the dude was draped over him, both arms. Like, he was wearing him like a cape.
He was a backpack.
He was a backpack. He was a cape. He was a backpack.
He was 185-pound backpack.
Yeah. So the fact that went uncalled was crazy. I saw a lot of Giants fans complaining about the no call on Kayvon Thibodeau's hands to the face. But I mean, I don't know. They also called. I think this was also Curtis Samuel. No, it might have been McLaurin on the illegal formation call. Did you see that?
Yeah, he pointed at
the ref. Yeah, like,
he asked the ref. The ref said yeah, and then the ref immediately
reached for his flag. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get you, bitch! I'm gonna get you, bitch!" Just don't you hike that ball! Oh, don't you hike that ball!
There needs to be some sort of accountability for the refs.
Yeah.
They need to figure that out in the next CBA because some of the stuff that goes on is just what is going on here?
They flat out cost the Commanders the game. Like they literally scored a touchdown on that illegal formation play. They literally cost the Commanders the game. But anyway, let's stop talking about ref. Giants end up winning, whether you like it or not. Ends up pulling ahead in that wild card race. Both teams would still make the playoffs if it were to end today, but the Giants would be the 6 and the Commanders would be the 7 seed. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and take a look at the current playoff picture in the NFL. Brought to you by me, because I made this, if I could pull it up.
Give yourself a pat on the back, pal.
Thank you. I deserve it. We will bring it up right about now. Watch stream and maximize. Bang. All right. So, over in the AFC, a lot of things stayed the same. Main thing that changed, as mentioned earlier, was the Ravens. And the Bengals did switch spots after the Bengals won and the Ravens lost. Currently in the AFC, you got the Bills, 1st seed, Chiefs, 2nd seed, Bengals, 3rd seed, Titans, 4. Another big thing that changed was the Chargers entering the wild card hunt. I'm not sure why there's no line there, but whatever. Chargers entered the playoff or the wild card race. They were already in the hunt, but now there actually would be a wild card if the season were to end today. Jump in the Dolphins as well because they did beat the Dolphins a week earlier, so they have the tiebreaker there. Passing. But this week they passed the Jets and the Patriots as well to even enter into the conversation. Another team to look out for, as mentioned earlier, though, is those Jacksonville Jaguars. Those pesky Jags down there in Jacksonville, led by Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson. They are right on the Titans' heels in the NFC or AFC South playoff race. Probably wouldn't win a wild card. The Jags are 2 games out of the wild card, but they're only 1 game out of the division. So if the Jags were to make the playoffs, it probably would be as a division winner. Titans have been slowing up lately, so it's very possible the Jags could jump them. Moving over to the NFC, got the Eagles, Vikings, Niners, and Bucks all remain the same as the 1 through 4 seed. Not much movement over there as far as division winners go. Wild card, honestly, the same 3 wild card teams with a little bit of switch up with the Giants and Commanders, as the Giants take the tiebreaker as of now. Cowboys still the 5 seed. And then in the hunt on the outside looking in, you got the Seahawks and my Detroit Lions. They both are sitting there at 7-7. I believe half a game back of the Commanders for that last wild card spot. However, the Seahawks do have the tiebreaker over the Lions, so if those two teams were to finish the season with identical records, the Seahawks would have preference over the Lions in the wild card race. And then, because this division is by far the worst in football, the NFC South is still all with only 3 games left to play. Right? 16, 17, 18. Yes. 3 games left to play. The NFC South is still all playoff eligible. All 3 teams that are not the Buccaneers in that division, the Panthers, the Falcons, and the Saints, are all only 1 measly game behind the Bucs for the division title. This is quite possibly could be the worst division I have ever seen as a football fan. And that's coming from a guy who saw the Texans make the playoffs at 7-9. So this could end up being just who the heck's going to lose in the first round to the Cowboys situation. But who knows? We'll see. Anything you have to add, Aaron, as far as the playoff race goes, or did I basically hit everything?
Well, kind of going back to the AFC, we mentioned that the Bengals and the Ravens flip spots. That could actually end up being a good thing for the Ravens, because the Bengals would have to face, as of right now, the Chargers, who are a kind of scary team, whereas the Ravens are either going to face Tennessee or potentially Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So that could be a good thing.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I didn't even think about that. I mean, obviously, if the season were to end today, Chiefs play the Dolphins, so seeing Tyreek back in Arrowhead would be pretty interesting. But we'll see. I mean, I think out of those 3 teams in the wild card right now, the Dolphins would be the team I'd be most comfortable playing in the first round. The Chargers scare me, and obviously, if Lamar's back, the Ravens really scare me. So, and if the Patriots or the Jets make it, I've got all confidence in the world we would steamroll them. So, I guess that'll do it for our playoff picture.
Thought we were going to steamroll the Texans, too.
That's true. I did think we were going to steamroll the Texans, and we did not. So, I guess that'll do it for our NFL segment. Not much more to go over there. NFL playoff picture basically wrapped that part up. MCDC all the way. Oh, Pro Bowl talk. That's right. I don't even have the votes up yet. You can go ahead and start that section off, Aaron. What have you seen as far as the Pro Bowl is concerned?
Well, I mean, do you want to just list off starters, or how do you want to do this here?
So is the voting over? Is the voting done?
I believe they're all announced. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, let's just go ahead and complete AFC roster revealed. So if you want to go ahead and name off the AFC roster, I can go ahead and hit the NFC.
All right. Well, the 3 quarterbacks for the AFC, you got Mahomes, Allen, and Burrow. Saw something maybe interesting, potential Tua snub. Maybe we can talk about that in a little bit. Then you got running backs, Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry. Fullback, lonely Patrick Ricard. Then wideouts, we got Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, and Devontae Adams. Oh, Jamar Chase as well. Tight ends, Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, and then a bunch of linemen.
Jamar Chase making it's kind of interesting considering he missed 4 games this year.
Yeah.
But
defense notables: Myles Garrett, Chris Jones.
Ooh, that's a boy. That's a guy. That's a guy.
T.J. Watt, Sauce Gardner.
Made it. Of course.
Patrick Surtain II.
That guy.
Minka Fitzpatrick, Derwin James, Jordan Poyer, Tommy Townsend made it as a punter.
Hey.
That's pretty much notable.
All right. As far as the NFC is concerned, Jalen Hurts, obviously. Geno Smith got his just desserts, I guess, in a good way though.
Yeah, I mean he's doing really well of late.
Kirk Cousins also doing great lately. In the second half.
He is.
in the second half.
460 yards.
After going 33-0, the Colts fucking suck. I don't care. They fucking suck. The Colts fucking suck. And the Chiefs lost to them, and I'm pissed. Running backs, you got Saquon Barkley, Tony Pollard. That's a cool one. I like that. And Miles
Over
Sanders.
Ezekiel Elliott.
Over
and I think
Zeke.
that's warranted.
I think it is too this year for sure. Tony Pollard's been the better running back between the two. Fullback, you got Kyle Juszczyk, of course. Wide receivers, you got Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, C.D. Lamb, Terry McLaurin made the Pro Bowl. A little bit of interesting pick in there over there, but I don't know who else I would have went with, I guess. Maybe DK Metcalf. I don't know how good he's been this year. Tight ends, George Kittle, TJ Hawkinson. No surprises there. Got some linemen. Jason Kelsey made it, so shout out the other Kelsey brother. Far as defense goes, some notables. You got Nick Bosa, Brian Burns, Aaron Donald, Micah Parsons, Fred Warner, Darius Slay, Trayvon Diggs, and Quandre Diggs. Are they related? I don't think they are. I know Stephon and
Trayvon Diggs is Stephon Diggs.
Right. I didn't know if Quandre was in there too. Buda Baker made it. Good for him. Been a while since he's been there, I think. And then that's about does it. I mean, nothing too crazy on the special team stuff. So yeah, I mean that's their NFC roster. Not a ton of surprises there. McLaurin a little shocking to me. I don't know about you. I haven't really followed him much this season. I just not a huge name. I guess would be my only reason for not thinking of him. But
I mean, he has had a solid season.
Yeah. Just over like Chris Godwin's kind of interesting, you know. Like Chris Godwin's been great.
He's been hurt though, hasn't he?
He only missed like 3 or 4 games, like similar to Chase.
Yeah, but Chase is just built different.
Whatever.
That and
Whatever.
Commanders are like actually a decent team, whereas the Bucks are hot garbage.
Their difference in record is like a game.
Yeah, but the division quality is a lot different. You got one plays in the best division in football, one plays in the worst.
Well, they only play in the best division in football because that division hasn't played shit all year.
I mean, they all play each other.
Exactly. I don't know. I'm just kind of saying, playing devil's advocate, I guess. Like I said, I haven't watched much Terry McLaurin this season, so I couldn't give you an accurate assessment. But anything else in the NFL world you want to talk about, or is that about to do it? We kind of ran this segment into the ground,
as we usually do.
The only other thing I want to bring up.
Go ahead.
Well, the only thing I want to bring up at all is the Chiefsaholic. Wow.
Oh yeah. We have quite the cast of characters.
That's the second super fan that's gotten arrested this year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So X Factor, right?
Yeah, X Factor. Which I don't know about the X Factor story, but I can speak shortly about the Chiefsaholic situation. For those who don't know who Chiefsaholic is, he is a Kansas City Chiefs super fan that shows up to every Chiefs game dressed up in a full wolf costume. Turns out he got arrested for a bank robbery that happened. Armed bank robbery that occurred in 2016, where he chose to wear said wolf mask in the midst of the robbery. So it was easy to
No.
Is that not what happened? That's what I saw.
Well, that, and he also just robbed one the other day and got caught while he was robbing it.
So this is a different one? So he's getting arrested for a different bank robbery.
Like one that he committed.
He's like
took him down right then and there.
a serial bank robber.
That's,
It's not a one-time
on the way
thing.
to the games.
on the way. So that's how he can afford to get into the games.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So Go Chiefs, I guess. Geez, what a bad look.
As long as that stays in the stands and not on the field, we'll be fine.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, we have turning into Raider fans, but meaning bunch of criminals. But I guess we'll move on to the NFL now, since we've brought up our shame. Move on to let's talk baseball. Let's talk MLB. Maybe get to basketball after that. We'll see if we have time. But let's talk some MLB first. A couple big things happened this week. Dansby Swanson signing with the Cubs. Do you think that's going to move the needle at all over there in Chicago, Siege? Or do you think that's basically a moot signing?
I wouldn't say it's a moot signing. A moot signing? You say moot?
Moot, like a moot point.
Okay. I wouldn't say it's like
Impactive.
or not. I wouldn't say it's not significant. I think it's a really good signing for the Cubs. They're bringing in Dansby Swanson as well as Cody Bellinger.
Oh, that's right.
The Bellinger signing I wasn't too pumped about, but the Dansby signing makes me think they're actually trying to seek out some talent.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little bit surprised whenever Dansby left Atlanta, but after he put out his little presser with the Cubs, it makes sense
I saw that.
why he went with the Cubs. A little sob story about his grandfather, and but yeah, I think it's going to be good for him, and it'll be interesting to see what he can do with the Cubs.
Yeah, for those who don't know, in Dansby's introductory press conference with the Chicago Cubs, he mentioned that a big reason for him signing in Chicago was because his grandpa was a lifelong Cubs fan. It was a huge, like heartwarming story and all that. So it made a lot more sense whenever that came out as to why he chose Chicago. Another big shortstop getting signed to an NFC title contender, Carlos Correa, choosing to sign with...
Yeah, what about that NFC, baby? What about that NFC?
choosing to sign... Did I say NFC? I meant NL, obviously. National League.
Yeah.
NFC, National Football Conference, National League, same thing. Anyway, signed with an NL title contender. Carlos Correa signing with the New York Mets, choosing them over the San Francisco Giants. Which we'll talk about the Giants' lack of signings in a little bit, but what do you think about the Carlos Correa signing over there in New York, especially after getting like Justin Verlander and all those other players they've collected throughout the years, like Francisco Lindor, Edwin Diaz, all those big name guys, Max Scherzer. Obviously, they're trying to build a true contender up there in New York, the likes that we may have seen with the Yankees. I saw a post today that said the Mets are basically becoming the Yankees. Do you think there's kind of some truth to that, Siege, or do you think they're kind of maybe wasting their money on a bunch of big name talent that's not going to end up resulting in a chip, or do you think maybe it works out for them? Because I mean, the Mets haven't really had much luck since 1986, so.
Right. I think this is a really good signing for the Mets. I don't think they're to the level of the Yankees. I mean, they're trying to be the Yankees, but without the Yankees capital,
Yeah.
They don't have the money to really back it up like the Yankees do, signing all these big names every single year at every single position. They can afford 5 or 6 big names, right? I mean, we saw them sign
like that.
Verlander, Correa. They have the polar bear. So they have big names in their roster now, but I still think they need those kind of role players to step up in order for them to make a significant push in the playoffs. I think they make the playoffs, but I don't necessarily see them going very deep into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean,
that could change with some more veteran guys being in the locker room. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen when it comes to the playoffs, I mean, it's all about pitching. at that point, especially bullpen. To be specific, outside of Edwin Diaz, I don't know how much relief that the Mets have up there. Obviously, they have a couple great starters in Scherzer and Verlander, have a great closer in Edwin Diaz, but who's going to bridge from those guys to Edwin Diaz in the first place would be my question. Obviously, they have a good lineup, but hitting comes and goes. We saw that earlier this past year with the Yankees. They were raking for the first 7, 8, 9 games of the playoffs, and then bats went cold. All of a sudden, they couldn't play. So it'll be really interesting. I mean, they have a great lineup. They have some good starters. They have a great closer. But when it comes down to it, are they going to be able to bridge from the 6th inning to the 9th inning without, because that's when the runs start getting scored in playoff games is that 6th to 8th inning.
Yeah. So just yesterday, the Mets signed Adam Ottavino on a two-year, $14.5 million contract. So there's one of your guys right there that can kind of bridge the gap between the starters and Diaz. But other than that, I don't really know too much about their bullpen. Just like you said.
Yeah. But I mean, it'd be nice to see them do good. It's been a while since they had that one Cinderella run in 2015 that ended up in a gentleman's sweep to the Royals. So shout out Kansas City. But I guess move on to probably the second biggest story today behind the Correa signing. Aaron Judge named the Yankees' newest captain. I believe the first captain since Derek Jeter, only 16th in franchise history. Do you think this was? I don't really know what question to bounce off of this, but I guess. Do you think this was part of his incentive for re-signing in New York? Was that they guaranteed him that captaincy, or where do you think this came from? Do you think this was all the plan all along? I don't know.
I don't know. It could have played a part into it, but I think the biggest part was the money right. I mean, if the money was right, I didn't see him leaving, even if somebody tried to match what the Yankees offered him. I mean, yeah. I still think he would have stayed, just because when you think of the Yankees, you think of Aaron Judge already.
Right, just like Derek Jeter back in the day.
Right, just like Derek Jeter, or like if you think of Big Papi, you don't think of the Twins, you think like Red Sox, So
Manny Ramirez, you don't think of the Indians, you think of the Red Sox.
Right, and it's the same thing with Aaron Judge. I mean, I think he'll be he's always been a Yankee, and he'll always be a Yankee now, with him starting to get older and signing this contract. I think the Yankees did him right, and I think he got what he wanted out of it. So I think it's a good deal for both sides.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not surprised that they named him captain. It seemed like once he signed there, that was a foregone conclusion. It was going to happen eventually. But it's cool to see. I mean, you don't see players get named captain of any team really these days. That's not a common thing like it used to be back in the 90s and before. So it's cool to see anybody get named a captain nowadays, because it's like, oh, this is our guy. We're standing behind this guy, thick and thin. Doesn't matter what happens. He's our guy. He's here to stay. I love that. It makes it feel like we're back in the day when loyalty between teams and players, not just players to teams, but the teams being loyal to their players, was more important back then. And now it just seems like it's been watered down with business this, business that, money this, money that. It's nice to see something that's a little bit more sentimental, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
But I guess kind of touching, like bouncing off of that Correa Judge thing, obviously the Giants were super in on both the Aaron Judge sweepstakes and the Carlos Correa sweepstakes. I believe they thought they had acquired both at one point. Aaron Judge for only a few hours, and then Carlos Correa for about a week. And then both end up signing with teams in New York. What do you think this means about the Giants' culture, maybe? Do you think Do you think something needs to be examined there? Like maybe there's a problem inside the Giants organization we don't know about, and that's what caused Correa and Judge, mainly Correa, because Correa didn't have any connection to the Mets. Judge at least had played for the Yankees beforehand, so that made a little bit more sense him wanting to stay. But Correa, he played with the Twins for a season, hadn't played for anybody other than the Twins outside of Houston. So, I mean, he really had no ties to any team that was looking at him. So, for him to just basically sweep the Giants to the side and just say, like, yep, New York's where I'm going, like, do you think that says something about the Giants' culture, maybe?
So I heard, or I saw a report about the Correa deal with the Giants, and from what the Giants said, whenever Correa went for his physical, there was something in his physical that they didn't like, and then there's another report out there that people are saying that Correa might have threw on his physical, like might have just like duffed his physical
Yeah,
in order
yeah.
to not go play for the Giants. So there's that's a little weird situation coming out with the signing of Correa to the Mets and them seeing something weird on the Giants side with his physical. So there could be like a, I don't know if maybe he threw his physical because he sensed something wrong with the Giants organization. Maybe he just simply didn't want to be in San Francisco. I don't know. There could be something
It's
there.
cold by the bay. Colder in New York, though, so I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting to see both those guys seemingly bound for San Francisco and then ends up on the other side of the country. Makes me think something's got to be going on in that organization we don't know about, but who am I? Um, I guess our last thing before getting into the World Baseball Classic would be I would just like to dedicate a couple minutes of the podcast, however long he needs. I know it's been a tough couple weeks for him as a Red Sox fan, so I would just like to dedicate this next segment, this next little section, to Siege to allow him to vent about his problems with the Red Sox. Obviously, they've been losing a lot of players and games the last couple years. Xander Bogaerts and JD Martinez being the most recent losses up there in Boston. Me being a Celtics fan, I have a little bit of a special place in my heart for the Red Sox. I don't like seeing the Red Sox suffer. You know, I like seeing the Patriots suffer, but I don't like seeing the Red Sox suffer. So I'm just gonna give Siege a little bit of time to vent and let us know what he has to say about the Red Sox organization as a whole. So go ahead, Siege. You have the floor.
Um, what I have to say is not very much. We've basically just got rid of everybody. It's kind of sad. Okay, so we freaking give the Dodgers. Well, we don't give the Dodgers obviously free agency, but we gift the Dodgers JD Martinez, so that just boosts their lineup. We gift the Padres Xander Bogarts. I don't know what they're planning on doing. I guess Fernando's going to the outfield, so that's an interesting situation in and of itself. Um, but then we pick up Justin Turner, which really scares me because either we're not re-signing Devers or Justin Turner's going to DH or play first base. I don't know. But us picking up Justin Turner was not a very good sign, at least in my eyes, of us re-signing Devers before next year. The only thing that I could spin off of it is maybe that they just didn't re-sign these guys to open up some money to give to Devers. And I really hope that's our plan, because if we don't get Devers, we're gonna lose a generational talent out of him, because
Mm-hmm.
he's one of the best players in
I
baseball.
love Devers.
He's so young,
Yeah.
and I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what the front office is doing up there in Boston, but it's kind of scary. Not gonna lie, it's kind of scary as a Boston fan to see what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, as a Royals fan, me and Aaron can speak from experience. Losing players, it hurts, and it usually isn't good. It usually means failure for a couple seasons at least.
We stink.
We still stink ever since
Hey,
we lost
but-
everybody. So
But as a Red Sox fan, I can sympathize with that. We'll win the World Series, right?
yeah,
And then for the next 3 seasons, we'll be last place in our division
True.
and not make the playoffs. And then we'll win the World Series, and then we'll be in last place again. So that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Hey, we'll win the World
we
Series
win
in
the World
another
Series.
50 years.
Yeah, we win the World Series, and then we're dog shit bottom
We lose 100 games for 50
for,
years.
for 30 to 50 years, give or take. And then we're right there, baby, for about a 2-year window, and then we're back down to the basement where we belong, because we're scum. But let's move on to the World Baseball Classic because I'm sad now. Talk about the the World Baseball Classic's right around the corner. Starts in March. Obviously, about to flip over to the new year, so it's only a few months away. Most of the U.S. team, if not all of it's been announced. I'll kind of read off what our roster looks like right now, and then we can go more in depth of what we think could result from this come March. So at catcher we got JT Realmuto and Will Smith. First base we got Pete Alonso and Paul Goldschmidt. Second base we got Trevor Story. Hey, there you go, buddy. There you go, Siege. There's a little highlight for you, Trevor Story.
Oh yeah, we just acquired him last year.
Yeah. So
Ooh.
third
I'm not attached to him yet.
third base.
He hasn't done anything.
Third base, we got Nolan Arenado and our man Bobby Witt Jr. Shortstop, Tim Anderson and Trey Turner. Outfield, Mookie Betts, Cedric Mullins, Kyle Schwarber, Mike Trout, Kyle Tucker. Starting pitching, we got Merrill Kelly, Nestor Cortez, Kyle Freeland, Brady Singer, Adam Wainwright? Did he just retire?
He's going on his
He
retirement career, bro.
Huh. That's kind of cool. Logan Webb, David Bednar, relief pitchers Dylan Bednar, Dylan Tate, Devin Williams, and Clayton Kershaw. Not a relief pitcher, but a pitcher.
An LP, whatever that is.
Left-handed pitcher, I would guess.
Why would they single him out like that?
I don't know. I don't know why they wouldn't just put starting pitcher. I would assume I would hope we start Clayton Kershaw, but I don't know.
He's just the losing pitcher.
Yeah, the losing pitcher. Well, it is a tournament, so he doesn't do well in those. But yeah, what do you
I'm
think?
actually really excited.
Oh, me too. I can't
really
wait.
excited for this roster. This roster looks really good. The only thing that kind of scares me is our starting pitching.
Yeah. I mean, but to be fair, we've never had good starting pitchers on our WBC teams. This honestly might be the best starting pitching staff we've ever had on our WBC teams. So, I'm not too worried. I mean, even international teams aren't going to have superstar pitchers either. I've noticed those seem to be the guys which kind of makes sense when you think of like the amount of stress you put on your arm. The pitchers seem to be the guys that are more likely to sit this out, whereas the position players always play. It seems like they always play every year. You get the best position players available. Most of them aren't from America, so they're not going to be on the American team. But no, I think we got a pretty good roster, all things considered. Obviously, we don't have the privilege of having like a Francisco Lindor or a Salvador Perez or whoever else you want to name, a foreign-born Major League Baseball player. But I think as far as U.S.-born players go, I think this is probably one of the best rosters we could have asked for, and I'm looking really excited. I was stoked for this back in 2017, I think it was 2016, 2017. And it's been way too long. Like I'm so glad it's back. I know COVID kind of pushed it off a couple of years. So for it to finally be back, I'm stoked. I'm stoked. But yeah, anything else you have to add about that siege, or is that basically all we got on baseball?
No, I think that's kind of it. Yeah, I don't think there's really anything else I have to add.
Okay. And also with the WBC team, I forgot we've got some superstar names coaching the team as well. We got Ken Griffey Jr. hitting coach. You got Andy Pettit as a pitching coach. I don't recognize these other names, but those two dudes alone is super. That's super dope to me to see those guys come back and pay it back, pay it forward. I guess with those younger players. I just love seeing Ken Griffey Jr. and Andy Pettit willing to take on coaching roles after their illustrious careers with Cincinnati, Seattle for Ken Griffey Jr. and New York for Andy Pettit, respectively. But yeah, I guess that'll do it all for the MLB section. Moving on, we'll do some quick NBA stuff. Kind of running out of time, so we'll make this short and sweet. As far as NBA goes, I mean the Bucks, Celtics, and Cavs continue to roll as they're the top three seeds in the Eastern Conference right now. Nothing's really changed since the last time we talked about them. Chris Middleton is back for the Bucks, so they've been better, if not the same, if not better than they were a month ago. The Nets' resurgence has been prominent. Kyrie and KD have seemed to coexisted really well recently. Kyrie's been balling out ever since he came back from suspension, and KD's been an MVP candidate all season. So the Nets have shot up the standings up to a top four seed again. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes moving forward. The Knicks have been a surprising team this. Excuse me. The Knicks have been a surprising team this season. Julius Randle having a huge bounce back year after a step back last year. I know 2 years ago he had his career year, averaging like 22 points, 10 rebounds, 40% from three. Like he went insane back in 2020, 2021. And then last year he took a huge step back, but kind of regained his form as this season's went on, which has helped the Knicks shoot up the standings to a top five seed, surprising most people. Then you got Trae Young and the Hawks. They're sitting there as a 7 seed right now, not looking too great over there. They've been battling some chemistry issues all season, seemingly. I mean, John Collins has been in trade rumors all year, just about. Not to mention, like, the years previous. He's been in trade rumors for as long as I can remember, ever since he really signed that new contract, like 3 years ago. Trae Young's, I guess, been pushing some buttons inside the franchise, kind of rubbing people the wrong way. Which has been kind of interesting since he is kind of the face of that franchise. And then, I mean, just bringing DeJounte Murray in there, another prominent ball handler that's going to need like he's going to need the ball in his hands a lot, just like Trae is. It doesn't seem to be all peaches and cream down there in Atlanta right now for the Hawks. Then you got the Pacers, started off on a miraculous run this season. Looked like they were going to surprise a lot of people and maybe make a playoff push. Turns out they've fallen down to the 9 seed. Benedict Mathurin, who was in the Rookie of the Year conversation at the beginning of the season, he's regressed every single month this year since October. So kind of looking like a flash in the pan situation with the Pacers early this year. Tyrese Halliburton's still balling out. He'll probably make the All-Star game if I had a vote. But the Pacers as a whole, they're just not a good team. We knew this coming into the season. They've got a lot ways to go. But it was nice to see them kind of play well early in the year. And then 3 teams that most people thought would be playoff contenders going into the season. The Heat, the Raptors, and the Bulls all struggling mightily right now. The Bulls wouldn't even make the play-in game if the season were to end today. The Heat are an 8 seed after being the best team in the East last year. And then the Raptors, I believe, are the 9 or the 10 right now with essentially the same team they had last year when they were a 6 seed. So it's weird to see those three teams struggling. Hopefully one, if not all of them, can kind of start playing better at some point. I mean, I don't really have anything else to say about those three guys. Um, then you go over to the Western Conference. You got the Nuggets, the Grizzlies, and the Pelicans, all thriving as top 3 seeds. I mean, those are probably the 3 best teams in the Western Conference right now, hands down. You got Jokic over in Denver with another MVP caliber season. Ja Morant over in Memphis. Him and Jaren Jackson Jr. have just been playing their asses off all season. And then you got the Pelicans with Zion now that he's healthy. Brandon Ingram when he's healthy. Ironically, Brandon Ingram's the one now that can't stay healthy while Zion's playing every game. But Zion's been able to help carry that team to a top 3 record in the Western Conference, looking like he's who everybody thought he was coming out of Duke. So nice to see him kind of show that, make the haters eat their words a little bit this season. Then at the 4 and the 5 seed, you got the Suns and the Clippers, both teams that were unceremoniously kicked out of the playoffs last year. The Clippers in the play-in games, mainly because they didn't have Kawhi all season, and then the Suns getting knocked out by Luka and the Mavs last year in the second round. Those two have both kind of held their form there in the middle of the pack over there in the Western Conference. Kawhi Leonard's been playing a lot more recently and a lot better recently, so that you expect the Clippers to probably make a run towards the title this year, as well as the Suns with Chris Paul and Devin Booker and that whole team over there in Phoenix. And then you got the Kings, the Blazers, and the Jazz, who are just kind of surprising everybody right now. No one obviously expected the Kings to make the playoffs. Right now, I think they sit as the 6th seed in the Western Conference. They've been playing amazing all year. Love to see that for both De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis, and just basically everybody over there in Sacramento. They've been struggling for so long. It's just nice to see them finally have a competent basketball team. The Blazers, kind of a little bit of a different story. It seemed like they were heading towards a rebuild going into this year, with trading C.J. McCollum, playing Anthony Simons a lot more, and then obviously Dame kind of aging out and maybe looking to go actually win a title somewhere. But they're actually sitting right now, I believe, at the 7th seed. So they've been having a pretty solid season, all accounts. Look forward to seeing Dame Lillard in the playoffs again. Hopefully we get to that point. And then the Jazz also, like, they started off the season just shocking everybody. I believe at one point they were the best team in the Western Conference. Nobody saw that coming after trading Donovan Mitchell to Cleveland. Lauri Markkanen is essentially the face of the franchise over there in Utah right now. He's been playing out of his mind. Maybe looking like he was kind of held back in Chicago and Cleveland, now that he has a bigger role over there in Utah. But ever since the Mike Conley injury, they've been kind of slowing up. So you hope that when Mike Conley comes back, maybe that team hits that next level again, and it maybe makes a push for that playoff spot down the stretch. And then you got 3 teams over there in the Western Conference that are just flat out disappointing. The Timberwolves, after trading for Rudy Gobert this offseason, just an absolute mess. Looks like that was a disaster from the get-go. Anthony Edwards has been complaining about not having enough paint to drive through. That's a big reason why he hasn't been able to dunk the ball as much. But tons of issues up there in Minnesota. Hopefully they can figure it out. But if not, then that Rudy Gobert trade may go down as one of the worst in recent NBA history. You got the Mavericks with Luka Doncic after losing Jalen Brunson this offseason. They did bring in Christian Wood, trying to compensate for that loss of scoring punch. But that has just not worked out. Luka's basically been a one-man show down there. He's putting up amazing stats. Would probably be more seriously considered in the MVP race had the Mavs been a better team. But because the Mavs are so bad, I mean, it's kind of hard to give the MVP to a player who doesn't even make the playoffs. So we'll see what happens down there in Dallas. And then the Warriors, coming off of their 4th NBA title in the last 7 years, just been a massive disappointment. Steph Curry literally just went down, so I don't know if you could really blame Steph Curry injury on the reason their record is so bad right now. But Steph being hurt going forward is definitely not going to help them. it'll be interesting to see if the Warriors are able to right the ship at all, coming off of their fourth title in the last decade. Because right now it looks like it's going to be an uphill battle the rest of the year just for them to make the playoffs, let alone be in title contention. And then most recently, the Lakers losing Anthony Davis for at least a month, I believe it said, due to a foot injury, basically evaporating any playoff chances that the Lakers had this year. I it was going to be a stretch for them to make the playoffs to begin with, but now that Anthony Davis is out, I just don't see them having any shot whatsoever. He was basically carrying that team, him and LeBron both, but Anthony Davis was putting up MVP caliber numbers, better numbers than Giannis did in his best seasons. So the loss of AD is going to just basically knock the Lakers out of the playoffs already before the new year even starts. So, and then lastly, mainly putting this on here so I can get a little input from Siege. I don't know how much basketball he's actually watched this year, but with it being Oklahoma City, maybe he has a little bit of something to say. I don't know. But Shea Gilgeous-Alexander been playing out of his mind. Another guy who'd probably be considered more seriously for the MVP trophy had the Thunder's record been any better. But with the Thunder being one of the worst teams in the NBA, there's no way Shea is going to win that award. But he has been playing amazing this season. Hopefully that continues, and maybe, who knows, maybe the Thunder win the lottery race for Victor Wembanyama, and next year we're seeing Shea, Chet Holmgren, Josh Giddey, and Victor Wembanyama out there in Paycom Center. That'd be pretty cool. What do you think, Siege? Do you think that would turn the franchise around if y'all could somehow acquire Victor Wembanyama and pair him up with Shea, Chet, and Giddey?
I honestly don't know that too much about him. I don't even know who that is, to be honest with you.
You don't know Victor Wembanyama?
No.
Oh my God, Aaron, you know Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah, dude's like 7 foot tall.
Well, that'd be nice. We need some height, but we also need some people that can shoot the basketball.
He can shoot.
He's like a KD. Yeah.
He's like KD, but 7'4".
Yeah.
Oh well, I mean, we'll take it, but we're not gonna get the lottery. We're not the worst team in the NBA. We're better than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams.
How bad is the Eastern? The bottom teams in the Eastern Conference?
Way
8 and
worse.
23, 8 and 26, 12 and 21.
Oh, see, it's because I saw you as the 12th seed. I saw y'all as the 12th seed in the West, and I assumed, I'm like, oh, that's pretty bad.
We're not even the 12th seed. We're the 13th.
Well, the one I'm looking
We're
at
right
is the
behind
12th.
the Lakers. Maybe it's just because games just got finished or something.
I don't know.
But yeah, we're right behind the Lakers right now because we have one more loss than them. But yeah, we would be the 10 seed, tied with the Raptors in the East. Anyways, I think
my apologies.
honestly, if no, you're good. If Chet was healthy, I think we would see a little bit more of a competitive team out of the Thunder. But right now, I mean, the way that Shea is playing, it's the only reason that we are where we are right now, and we're still 5 games under 500. So, I don't know. He's third in scoring in the league right now. He's scoring 31.3 points a game. I mean, he's really having to carry the whole team on his back. But whenever you talk about like most valuable player, I wouldn't necessarily put him up super high up the top just because, I mean, when you're talking about valuable, you're talking about guys that can kind of do it all, right? And this year we're seeing more of a Shea that is just a scorer. Okay, he's not putting up the assists necessarily. He's I mean, obviously he's kind of short, so he's not getting any rebounds. Like when you're talking about, yeah, kinda. Giddey plays point. He plays more of a shooting guard this year.
Well, then does Dort? Whatever, it doesn't matter. Go ahead.
Does who?
Does Dort play the 3? Or
Dort? Dude, Dort plays the 3 or the 4.
What? Dort might sometimes plays the. Is he like 6'5"?
Dude, we have a bunch of 6'5" guys out there. That's all we have out there.
Ugh,
And then we got like Mike Muscala.
that's rough.
We don't have any height. We don't have any height.
That's rough.
We don't have a center. Yeah, that's why we want. That's why we were wishing that Chet was playing because
Yeah.
he'd be playing the 5.
Yeah.
He's skinny though. But yeah, so I mean, as for the MVP race necessarily, I wouldn't put him up there, but he's one of the best scorers in the game right now, and it's pretty impressive to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just love the. I want OKC to be good just because I live here, and it'd be nice to go watch good basketball. But
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I
Hey,
don't know.
the one good thing about them not being very good, tickets to the game.
They're like a buck or two a piece.
Dude,
Super cheap.
the tickets tonight were $6.
Dang, who are they playing?
I think Portland.
That's a pretty decent game too. That's nothing crazy. That's not too bad. But yeah, I mean, I don't have anything else to go for basketball, so I guess we can start wrapping this bad boy up. Let's go ahead and just a quick summary of what happened in the World Cup. I'll let you guys kind of take the reins. You probably watched more of it than I did, but let me just say it was an amazing game. I was golfing during it, or no, I was at church because it started at 9. I was at church during the World Cup final, but I did keep up on my phone. Argentina going up too early. Mbappe scoring back-to-back goals within the span of like 4 minutes or whatever it was. Very Tracy McGrady-esque. And then ends up forcing overtime. He ends up Mbappe also the only one on France who could make a penalty kick. So Mbappe single-handedly kept France in that game. If it wasn't for him, Argentina would have won in a landslide. But Messi does get his first, and I guess only because he's probably going to retire here soon before the next World Cup. But he finally gets that World Cup trophy. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. You guys have anything to add?
The only thing I have to add is what it means for Mbappe to win the Golden Boot. So he had the most. I mean, he had the most goals in the
Right.
World Cup. He already has how many? I think he has 12 goals, and he's played in 2 World Cups, and he's 23.
Dude's
I
insane.
I think he's 20. I think his birthday is today. I think he's 24.
Dude's insane.
But so kind of the transition from the world of soccer that we know with Ronaldo and Messi, like those are the 2 top dogs that we've all grown up with, and like that's like the only 2 players people know in soccer, right?
Right.
If you're not a soccer fan, those are the only 2 guys that you've ever even really heard of.
Yep. Messi and Ronaldo.
Yep. And so now it's kind of the passing of the torch to Mbappe, and it's like those 2 guys are kind of just like, here you go. This is kind of what we started. Here you go. Take the reins, and you're the next superstar. So also Mbappe is I think it was the second hat trick ever scored in a World Cup final.
Yeah, 'cause
The last one was
he scored
60.
3 before the PKs, right?
Yep,
Okay.
he got a hat trick. That's only the second one in World Cup final history.
It's
So
ridiculous.
that's really
In the
that's
span
really
of
cool.
like what, 15 minutes?
Yeah, I mean he scored in the 78th or 79th minute, and then again in like the 82nd minute or something like that,
Yeah.
and then in extra time as well. So
Oh, it was extra time.
yeah, it was an extra time. The end of regulation it was 2-2, and they both scored a goal in extra time. So that's why it went to PKs. But yeah, it was really cool to see Messi get his World Cup. He
Yeah.
can now go down as the
The
best
GOAT.
to ever play soccer.
Yep, it's the GOAT as
So-
of now. Hello, folks. Due to some technical difficulties, the podcast did get cut a little bit short. So I'm here post recording just to give a little bit of an outro as well as our random sports fact of the week, which is the longest average NFL career by position is punters at 4.87 years, which is kind of crazy because, most of us typically think of NFL careers lasting more than 5 years on average, but apparently on average less than 5 at the longest tenured position. So, but anyways, thank you anybody who decided to check in. Again, sorry about the technical difficulties. Hopefully that won't happen again. I think we figured out what happened with all that. But if you did make it this far, please, please, like and subscribe. We plan on, continuing to come out with these videos. Do plan on taking a week break due to Christmas, me being out of town, and then Siege is actually getting LASIK eye surgery, so he won't even be able to see next week when we would typically record. So, again, we are taking 1 week off. Plan to be back after the turn of the new year with the first podcast of 2023, hopefully coming out first week of January. Again, thank you to all who was watching. I guess that's all I have. Peace out, everybody.